Okay, so my glue is dried and the battery pack and the breadboard are in there securely. Now what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to go ahead and connect up, make all the connections between the battery, the motor, the Arduino, and the motor controller. And I'm going to do that at first just using some jumper wires. Well, some of these, pre-done jumper wires. Then after I verify that everything works good, I'm going to cut some so they're nice and neat and laid down flat on the breadboard. But we'll talk about this motor controller chip real quick. It's a TB6612 FNG from Toshiba, and we'll just talk about some of the connections on it. Alright, TB6612 FNG. Okay, so there's actually, let's see, how many pins is this thing? 16 pins. Alright, we'll go through each one of them. We're going to work our way just like this sits in here. That's how we're going to start. This is right here is pin 1 to 8 and then 9 to 16. Okay, so pin 1 is just a simple ground. Okay, 2, it goes to VCC, which in this case will be 5 volts. We're just going to hook this up to these two up to the power rails on the breadboard. Okay, and we have A01, A02. Those go to 1. A01 will go to the like positive lead of one of the motors. A02 will go to the negative lead of one of the motors. Okay. Then same thing with B02 and B01. That's the same thing there. Positive and negative. I'm not sure how I'm going to do it yet. And then okay, V-mote. That's going to go to the positive of the battery pack. And then ground, we're going to hook that up to the ground of the battery pack. Although really you could, since it's all going to be on one common ground anyway, you could just tie this ground in with this one and it might be at the same potential anyway. Okay, now moving over the other side, see they have it separated out to where on one side of the chip you have like all your battery pack and motor connections and all that, and then on the other side you have all the connectors for your microcontroller. Okay, we have another ground connector over here, and that'll just go. Oh shit!
What?
I never did adjust the. That's not funny. Okay, so I've written up a little. This is the pinout of the TB6612 FNG chip, and I have it oriented just like it is on this breadboard right now. I have this chart done in the same orientation. So that little that round component there, which I don't know, I think that might be I think that's a capacitor, but it's going to be in the same location here. And the way this board works, this little motor controller works, is everything on this side deals with motor and power, and everything on this side deals with the microcontroller connections. And I'll just go through them real quick so you can kind of get an idea of what I'm doing when I'm hooking it up. First of all, we're going to have all the grounds tied in anyway. The grounds between the motor controller, the Arduino, the the battery, everything's going to be on the same potential. They're all going to be on a common ground. So ground and VCC are going to obviously go to the ground and VCC rails on the motherboard, on the breadboard, excuse me. AO and AO1, AO2, and BO2 and BO1 on each motor. On each motor, you have a lead on each motor. So we'll call this motor A and this motor B. So AO1 will be the this lead of motor A, and then BO1, and then AO2 and BO2. Those are basically the outputs of the chip. That's where the chip actually sends the output, and it's going to be based on what the inputs are. But anyway, the VMOT or VMOT, that's the positive voltage from the battery pack, and ground is the ground from the battery pack, and that covers all of your connections. That covers all your connections on this side of the board. Now moving on over here. Now you'll see we have AM1, AN2, BN1, BN2. Now what that does is, like, there's a logic table we can draw up for that. And this is how the controller works with the let's see, I'll do a little truth table here. 1 AN, 2 BN1, BN2. Okay, and then we'll do let's see. So basically, if I want, let's say I want the robot to go forward. What I want to happen then is I want to have motors A and B to both turn forward. To get that to happen, you have to put, let's say, not exactly sure what it is, but it's going to be something like this. AM1 will have to go high, BM1 will have to go high, and let me see, I'm going to have to double check because I haven't looked at this in a while. Let's see. Yeah, okay. Then AN2 would have to go low, BN2 would go low, and that would be to go forward. Okay. Then to go backwards, see, AN1, it'd be the reverse, low, high, low, high. Okay. Now obviously you'll have different, like especially with this kind of robot where your steering is done differentially, like where you'll want to have motor A go forward and then motor B go backwards to do twists like this. You know, like if you want to have it turn left, say, then you'll have a truth table like this, like you know, one of them going forward and then the other one going backwards, and then that'll make it turn one way or the other. Now there's also, if you look, standby pin, STBY. For any of this, this thing won't function at all unless the standby pin is high. If the standby pin is not set to high, then nothing works. You can do the standby pin one of two ways. You can tie it into a digital pin on the Arduino and set it high, or you can just go ahead and tie it into the you know, the VCC and always keep it high if you know you're always going to want it high. Okay, let's see what else. Okay, now PWM-A and PWM-B. You see, AM1 and BM1, they control like the direction that the motors are going to move. PWM-A and PWM-B control the speed at which they're going to move. And there's one key thing to remember for that on the Arduino. I think it's on the Uno and the I think most of the versions, or maybe all of them, your PWM or analog write pins are, let's see, 3, 5, 6, 9, 10, or 11. So whenever we do our PWM-A and PWM-B pins, we're going to have to use one of those pins. Now the other 4, AM1, 2, BM1, 2, they can just be any old digital pins. So that's just a quick look at how this is going to get wired up. And now I'm going to go ahead and wire it up. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and wire this thing up, and for now I'm just going to use these jumper wires like this, and after I prove that it works on this little test, then I'm going to come back and I'm going to replace it with some nice little neatly cut jumper wires that can lay nice and flat and neat here. But we're just going to go ahead and do this very quickly. First thing we know we're going to need to do is we're going to have to hook our battery up to the power rail. Okay, so negative and positive, and I'm going to have about 6 volts coming out of this, which is the max, happens to be the max for the motors can take, which is perfect, and it's also safely within the requirements of the max or the input requirements for the Arduino Nano here, so that's fine. And I'll go ahead and, speaking of the Arduino, I'll go ahead and hook up its connections now. These are actually going to be very short. So we got ground to there, and then we got a voltage in here. Okay. Alright, and I'm going to go ahead and start hooking up the motor controller chip now. Alright, so I'm going to start on this side here. This is just going to go to ground. Okay, the next pin is going to go to VCC, right here too. And these are going to be some nice, short, little, neat jumpers whenever I finish. Okay, now we're going to have AO1 on pin 3 and 4. We're going to have AO1 and AO2. Now I've decided to call this motor on this side A, and I'm going to make black 1, just to be consistent. So we'll make black 1 and plug it in, AO1, and red will be AO2, and these are the motor outputs. And this chip will be able to send current down, either side, turning the motor either direction. Okay, now the next one's going to be BO2. Alright, and this reach is not terrible. I can just come under here. See, this is why you really need to make these neat, because they're so easy to pull these out, and you've got to hunt for what you pulled out. Kind of a pain in the ass. Okay. Okay, now we got V-mote, which is just your, really this is going to end up being, oh, I need to take this out. This is actually not VCC here. Positive rail, I need to tie. Need to tie that in to VCC from the Arduino. That's what I need to do. If I can find it, here it is right here. Here's a 5 volt out. Okay. Probably would have worked anyway, but that's safer. Alright. Okay, so V-mode is going to go to that positive rail. Okay, and then ground. We have another ground connection to make. Got lots of those on this chip. 3 ground connections. They're all going to the same place. Okay, now we're done on that side of the chip. Now I have to figure out what I'm going to make PWM. I'm going to have to reroute this when I do it. Might splice into it. But we're going to have to figure out PWMA. I'm going to write this down as I go too, or I'll forget. Paper. Okay. PWM A, PWM B, AN1, AN2, BN1, BN2. Okay. So we know PWM A and B are going to have to be, well, I'm going to go ahead and make them 10 and 11. Make them high numbers, plus they're down here on this side. Okay, there's 10, which I'm going to run to PWM A, and 11 while I'm here. I'm going to run it up to PWMB, which is right here. Okay. Okay, and then I'm going to have to figure out AM1, AN2, BM1, and BN2. And I think I'll make that 4, 5, 6. Let's see. 5, 6, 7, 8. Right down the line. And I might have to change this, or I might not have to, but let's see, 5, 6, 7. No, I'm going to do 6, 7, 8, 9 instead. I'm going to do them all in a row, so all my motor stuff is together. Okay, so 9 is going to be BN2, which is 3 up right here. Okay, and then 8 is going to be BN1, which is right above it. Okay, and then AN2 right here, and I will provide a link to an article I already wrote about using this TB6612 FNG chip. I did a pretty good write-up. It's been a lot of people have used. It seems to work pretty well for them. Let's see, we got 2 more connections to make. We got standby, which I'm just going to go ahead and tie it high. Okay. So I'm going to tie it to VCC. Let's see, where was that VCC pin? Pin number 2 over here. Yeah. I can tie it to this VCC, which is the same as this pin here. Okay, and then ground. I need one more jumper. If I can find one. Can I find one more jumper, please? Ah, here we go. Okay, tie ground back into ground over here. And this is really messy stuff. But I am, like I said, I'm going to neaten it up to where it's all going to lay flat. Now, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take this negative out, the battery. because I want to go ahead and load my battery pack up while I've got it out. Because I'm going to get ready for some action. Because after this, we're going to go ahead and start coding. And I'll be right back. I'm going to load this battery pack up. And next thing we're going to do is we're going to be at the computer writing a little code to get this thing up and running, hopefully. Just do a little test, forward, back, turn, etc. So I will see y'all on the computer.